Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I've got something really cool to show you. It is this pen. This pen was made by Stephen Just at Just Turnings, an Australian pen maker from Queensland in Australia. Check out the Instagram and everything below. Makes super high quality pens using beautiful acrylics. I'm going to talk about this particular pen because I find this very interesting. This model is called the BYOP. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means bring your own pen. And what does that mean? Well, this is what you can do with it. So this is the nib and section from the Platinum Century 3776. This pen. So Stephen over there makes this range of BYOP pens to fit the nib and section from other pen brands. Because while this is a lovely pen, it's not a particularly exciting looking pen. And when you can partner that beautiful nib, amazing nib, with acrylics like this particular one is from Fountain Telling, which is Kristen from Carolina Pen Company. It's got these beautiful pearlescent chatoyants and there's great colors and these swirls. Look at that. Isn't that just absolutely stunning? I think it looks so oceanic. Just absolutely incredible. So if you can partner that with the beautiful nibs and sections from these pens, why not? And there are a range of pens he makes these for. So as I said, this is the Platinum Century 3776 model. He also makes it for the Pilot Custom 74, the Pilot Custom 912, the Sailor Pro Gear, and the Sailor 1911. So you've got sort of 5 really classic fountain pens there that, you could put the nibs in. You can get these pens to fit. And obviously, you have to order the particular one because the section from a 1911 isn't going to fit in this particular model. So you get the one for the pen that you want. And if you've got multiples, like I've got this Chartreuse Blue here, it's very easy to just swap them out when you want. It's great. I really, really enjoy this. So I'm going to talk about the parts and features. Obviously, reviewing a fountain pen, you also review the writing experience, and that's not what you get from Just Turnings. You get the pen body, the shell, if you will. I'll do a little writing sample just so you can see it in action, but that's not really what it's about. So this model starts with a sort of a slightly domed flat top, and then the cap swells out ever so slightly, and the barrel of the pen has a consistent low taper down to another slightly domed end there. The cap unscrews in 2 turns, and the threads appear to be triple start, and they're very smooth. I've had no issues with them whatsoever. It's beautiful. The pen posts, and it posts very nicely. But also, it's a size that's big enough probably for most people to write quite comfortably without needing to post it. As I said, we're not talking about a cartridge converter pen here. We're talking about, so what you get is this. You get the cap and the barrel like that. And then you take your nib and your nib section and converter, and you place them in. It's simple, it's beautiful, it's elegant. So let's do a size comparison now, and I've got the BYOP from Just Turnings and a Lamy Safari here. And then I've got the Platinum Century 3776 there, which is my Chartreuse Blue version sitting there, which is a lovely pen. Okay, so you can see it is about the same length as the Century 3776, and that's because obviously it's built around the insides of that pen. It's slightly shorter there than the Lamy Safari when it is capped. Uncapped, you can see it is a little longer than the Platinum and a little shorter there than the Lamy Safari. And those relative dimensions carry on through to the posted versions. A little longer than the Platinum, a little shorter than the Lamy. So what are those dimensions? Well, it is 138 millimeters when it is capped. It is 125 when it is uncapped. So as I said, long enough for most people. And because those threads are relatively smooth, they're quite smooth. You can feel them, but they're smooth and there's no big step downs. If you hold the pen slightly further back, it's not uncomfortable either. Posted is 158 millimeters, and because the balance of the pen is relatively good with 19 grams in total, 14 in the barrel and 5 in the cap, you're not putting a huge amount of weight on the back of the pen. I generally tend to write with this unposted. That's my general method with most pens, and unless the pen is too small, that's kind of what I will tend to do. The section there is the platinum section is around 10 millimeters, and because it's a decent length nib, you do have a nice length from the page when you're writing. Super quick writing sample now with, and I'll just to give sort of some of the details, we have the Just Turning BYOP. This is the Platinum Century 3776 version, and this one comes with a I think it's 14 karat, please correct me if I'm wrong, and this is a broad nib. The ink I have in this is another Australian ink because it's an Australian pen. Well, it's Australian pen body. This is Robert Oster Steely Days, which I tried to line up with not necessarily the full color of the pen, but kind of, I don't know if it'll come up, but like this is like pearlescent part of the acrylic in here that is more teal than some of the blues in the pen, and I kind of like the fact that it highlights that with this sort of slightly tealy blue ink. As I said, these nibs, they get reviewed elsewhere, of course, but you know, they are beautiful and reliable. You know, relatively wet, all of that kind of stuff. They're really great nibs. Platinum make amazing nibs, and there is a huge range of these nibs available. So depending on what you get, obviously there are certain nibs that are more common, medium, fine, medium, broad perhaps, and you can find those even cheaper. But if you were after a specific nib, a music nib, or, you know, sort of an ultra fine, these guys have you covered, and then you can put it in one of these beautiful pen bodies. So what does the BYOP cost? Well, it is $15 less than the full pen in this material. So basically what I mean is, Just Turnings, Stephen just over there, makes beautiful custom-made pens. This is another one I'll be reviewing soon, with, you know, full section and nib and all of that kind of stuff. So depending on what material you get and this, you know, all that kind of stuff, the pens cost a different amount. This particular one in this material costs about $160. And they can range anywhere from, you know, in the BYOP version, that is, from around 135 to around 180, give or take, depending on the material. And you can talk to Stephen about what material you want, all those kinds of things as well. He's really, really great to deal with. So for around the $160 mark, you are not getting a nib. Now, if you want a pen with a nib, for $15 more, you can get a steel nib. Now, but if you wanted one of these specialty nibs, you know, from Pilot or Sailor or Platinum, you know, chances are you might have one of those pens lying around at home and you'd want to repurpose the nib, or these pens are actually kind of relatively affordable and available around the place at times. So for actually the cost that is almost at times less than buying a gold nib in its own right. So when I bought this particular Platinum Century 3776, I just looked it up recently, it cost me 165 Australian dollars. Now, the prices vary depending on where you get them from. They can be a hell of a lot more, and if you get them on the grey market or secondhand, they can be a hell of a lot less. And that's how it looks without the section, which is kind of odd. But so 165 plus 160, 325 roughly Australian. You could have a pen working like this, which I think is a really very, very cool option because it's unique and you have, you know, some control of the material, all that kind of stuff, and then a really, really great nib in it. So let's talk about some pros and cons now for this pen. Well, the cons, this is going to be dependent on the person, but also remember what you're getting and the fact that it's not a big pen. The other pen I have here, as I said, is a bigger model. But the thing is, you're buying this pen to fit a particular nib and section, and I think it is an appropriate size for that nib and section. It has a good seal. Like, I've never had problems with any hard starting or anything like that. It's always written really well. And, you know, obviously Platinum have their you know, seal system in the pens that say that, you know, they'll keep a nib wet for a year. I haven't tested that on this pen, obviously, but I've had no problems in everyday use. Like, I have to say, the engineering of this is nice. It's simple, but the reverse engineering of working out the size of the threads and making it all fit, it's done very, very well, and I think it makes a great looking pen. I love this material. There's a range of materials available. So this is from Fountain Telling, and but there's also like the diamond cast materials from Mackenzie Penworks. There's Brooks blanks, as well as things like the Turnt Pen Co. Available through Stephen, if that's what you're after, and you can talk to him about the colors you want and things like that. The other thing is, I think the machining and the finish is beautiful. It is smooth. It is so glossy and beautifully done, and I think it's like the tolerances are all absolutely immaculate. And there's not a single rough spot or misaligned anything. It's just beautifully done. Absolutely incredible. So lovely workmanship over there. And that is kind of also what you're paying for. You're paying for the beautiful craftsmanship that goes into these pens, the hours they take, the years of getting these things right and designing and engineering and all of that. So I think this is a wonderful idea. It's a great pen. I know there are other people who make bodies for other pen sections, but this is a very nice one, and I also just love it in this material. I think it really lifts for me the platinum nib and section to a whole new level of interest and enjoyment for me. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this video about the BYOP pen, the Platinum Century 3776 version of it from Just Turnings here in Australia. I hope you found it interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, all that good stuff. Check out Just Turnings. Get on board with getting custom pens made from beautiful pen makers in Australia and abroad. And if you've got an old Century lying around or a custom 74, why not invest in a exciting new body and feel like you have a new pen with a nib that you love? So yeah, just really nice. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.